Why did the whisper green grass? Why tell the trees that ain't so? Whispering grass, the trees don't want to know.
I was separated really when my daughter was just barely 3. And so I had to suddenly provide for the children and go to work. So it was a big change for me. We've got much more independence, financially especially. Even in just, say, the last 20 years, things have changed such a lot. And we've got a lot more freedom. All the gadgets we've got, and women are more interested in everything that's going on around them as well. Whereas at one time, in our mother's time, it was just the home and the husband and the children. Whereas now it's world politics and everything. Right from being at school, they're more independent. And so they learn from a very young age. It is a different life, but it's a better one. Richard's my grandson. When he was born, not straight away, but I gradually began to think, well, all these things that are happening, there's no record of them. So I started writing about family events and holidays and anything that touched our family. Not every day, it's not a proper diary, it's just a record. And when he was 21 years old, I gave it to him when he hadn't seen it before. There was tears from his mother when she read it, because there was such a lot in that we'd forgotten, which was the idea of the book. I intended getting the book back and carrying on, but of course he never gave it me back. So I've started again now, writing again, but a much wider field this time. When you're younger, you're probably married and got a husband and children, so you perhaps don't need friends so much, so you don't make the effort. Whereas when you're older and you're by yourself probably, you do tend to rely on friends more, not just for help, but just for company. Like the lunch club. Now I've made lots of friends there.
I was going to the Abbey Club and Diane had just joined that day, hadn't you? To come down. And we were playing card games as a social meeting. And of course, to play card games, you've got to have 4. And there was only 3 of us sitting at the table, which is very hard. And Diane was sent over to come and sit with us so we could got 4 for card games. And that's how we started. We got playing. Diane said that she was very lonely and needed somewhere to come. So I said, well, keep coming. So she joined eventually, didn't you? And then after that, it all just went from good and kept on going. We decided she can't walk very far, I can't. So we decided 2 good ones together, we can go on outings then. So that's what we did. And we stayed friends ever since, and that's 3 years ago.
We've been to Wales last year, which was very enjoyable. We really enjoyed it. And when I want to look round the shops, I dump Pam, as she calls it. She loves telling people I dump her. I always dump her in a nice spot that's interesting.
Coffee
while
shop.
I go and have a look round the shops. So I love shopping. And I usually buy her something for being so patient and waiting for me. And then this year we've been to Cornwall, and that was really enjoyable. The scenery was lovely, the weather was gorgeous, and we had entertainment at night. Pam likes live entertainment, music, and she won't let me go to bed early. She made me stop up and listen to the music, which was nice for a change. And now we're getting a piece of jewellery, a necklace, one the same each, so we can wear it. We're going back to childhood, aren't we?
Yeah.
A friendship necklace, we're calling it. A round silver one, so it continues with life. Because we don't want to go anywhere just yet. We're going to continue with life and enjoy it to the full. Hopefully, as long as we keep walking. Because now I've got a bad leg as well as a bad back. So I'm bad knee, so I can't walk very far now.
When you're young, you've got your children. And before you've got your children, you've got certain friends. And as you're getting older, the friendship seems to break apart because we're all going our separate ways. And then you've brought your children up, and as your children leave home, that gives you more time. And then you've got to make new friends because the other ones have moved on, of course. And I think the friendship's more treasurable when you get older.
And more constant,
It's a constant,
friendship.
yeah.
You don't tend to part, I don't think, you know, until you go up to heaven or wherever. You stop friends for life, the rest of your life, I think.
When we first met, oh yeah.
A good-looking chap, wasn't he?
Yes, well, I was still at school, wasn't I? Yeah, I was 13 when we met, wasn't I?
14 you was.
Well,
I was 19. I was a butcher in the local butcher shop at the time. You come for your mum's meat, hadn't you?
Yes, I used to go fetch the meat, yeah.
I straightened my tie and did my hair. I thought, well, I would ask her out for a date. And she said yes, straight away. And we met and we went to the Empire Cinema on a Wednesday night. I can always remember it because I lived at Winshill. I had to go to Winshill, get spruced up and come back on the bike. And then we walked from Woodville to Swaddlincote because I said, come on, we'll catch the bus. And in them days, a few shillings in your pocket was, you were rich. And they said, no, we'll walk it because it was nice. So we walked all the way down and we went to the pictures. I paid for pictures and we had an ice cream during the time. And we're coming out, I said, come on, we'll catch the bus. She said, no. And we walked back. And I said to her, I said, come on, I'll take you home. And she wouldn't let me walk her home. No. We got to park from where we met at the co-op on the corner at the toll gate. And I said, can I see you again? She says, yeah. So we arranged to see each other, and we've never missed a day since. Because whatever we wanted to do, she's been there. Vice versa. When you were 14 and left school, that was your next phase of life, starting work. Your dad told you about it. Find a job, you know. And I mean, he wasn't worried about whether you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that, because schooling was out. You finished school at 14, get a job. That was it. Now, I think she probably thought, oh, there's a nice looking butcher's boy. I'm going to have a look at him. Is it true?
Hey?
There was a good looking butcher's boy in Gregory's.
Yeah.
One engineer at Swad. I got on very well with him and he taught me a lot and he got me doing jobs long before I should have done for training. Of course I was getting further and further up the ladder. And he would say to him, now, Christmas, you're on call. If you're not here on Christmas Day, you're out. Certainly with a sack. The more coal they caught, the more money they got. In the end, we got the same rate of pay as the miner because you maintain the machine, and if you maintain it properly, and that kept going for a full shift, they made a good wage. It made you a good wage. And you worked together. There wasn't one down the pit, I don't care anybody would say it, I'd see you in trouble. If you've got struggling, there's always somebody that'll give you a hand. Same as you gave other people a hand. And that's how you worked. That's how it was. The comradeship was out of this world. And now I've got one of the best here. She's looked after for 61 years.
We just give and take, don't we?
That's exactly what it is.
We don't fall out, do we? Don't.
No.
We make it up if we have words.
If ever we wanted anything, same in the old days, wanted anything, and we say we'd like this, that, can we afford it? And if she said no, that was no, because she was in exchequer.
Let's start with football. We started talking about that.
Yeah.
Did you like football when you were younger?
Yeah.
Did you play a lot?
No.
No?
No.
You always liked...
My dad did play to Leeds.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've always liked watching it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's your favourite football team?
Manchester United.
Manchester United,
I've seen it. Wembley.
Yeah.
Benfica.
Benfica. George Best.
Bobby Charlton.
Yeah.
He got the goal. Remember that?
Where were you born, Michael?
Winton. Yeah.
Where did you used to work?
Egypt. Burton.
And what did they do?
Wet shoes. Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Did you ever marry?
No.
You've got a lot of records, haven't you? What's your favourite record?
All sorts.
When we spoke before, you mentioned a song called Only 16.
I got it in there.
Have you?
Bowden.
How old were you this last birthday?
I got now.
What's on that cup?
60. Where is he?
I think it's 70.
7.
Who sent you cards?
All the family. All the down there.
You enjoy being 70?
Yeah. Good idea, isn't it?
I hadn't a very good childhood, to be honest with you. In the back streets of Belfast, we had a council house, so we were very poor. We had very little money. Well, we never knew what firecrackers were for years because we weren't allowed them. We weren't allowed anything to do with fireworks because basically they used to think they were guns going off. And when I came to live here, I was still pretty afraid because my husband... I married an English chap when I came over here. We went to Victoria Station and I wouldn't stand next to the policeman. I said, "They're targets, you know." And he said, "The targets for what?" They had Halloween over here and I nearly died because we were in the car and this big bang went off and I went, "Ah, what's that?" Peter says, "It's Halloween." I thought it was a bomb. I worked in Belfast, you see, when it was really bad. And we had bombs around us quite a bit. And one went off, not just actually across the street from where I was working. And we were actually very lucky because it had bulletproof glass or we'd have been dead because we could see the glass just coming towards us. I trained as a nurse to help others and then I came full circle, having worked in IT for 20 years, to actually end up in drug development, which was, you know, the point of that was to help others. One of the projects was 444 million. So you're dealing with, you know, large projects across multiple countries. I had never had any children, so my career was my life to a large extent. I was running a whole department at one stage and I ran it for over 18 months and I felt I was doing a really good job. We were making a lot of money, we'd standardised as much as we could. I had 18 people working for me and one day I went in and I was told this was my new boss. I wasn't even considered for the job. It's definitely a gender issue. The 25 years I've been in project management, I must have a scar somewhere. So that's when I knew I had a glass ceiling. In February of 2010, I had a nervous breakdown, mainly from overwork and poor management, really. And I was under threat of losing my job. So all of that sort of stress built up. So I went into work one Thursday, I think it was. I'd been in Boston the week before, and it had been a dreadful journey, and I was incredibly tired from it. And I'd got in to do a decision-making matrix for one of the managers. And on Thursday, I wasn't feeling good at all. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I couldn't organise anything because mostly my life is organising stuff. By Friday, I was actually in tears the whole day. I went to see my GP on Monday and he said it was stress and I was having a nervous breakdown. I had to stop. And I was sick then for about 4 months. I couldn't do anything, couldn't drive. If I was left on my own in the supermarket, I just started to cry. And I couldn't really do anything, couldn't cook, couldn't do anything for myself. I started to get better from the nervous breakdown. I realised that I had something wrong with my spine. And I went to see the GP, who referred me to get an MRI scan. And the MRI scan showed degenerative disc disease and arthritis of the spine. I was diagnosed with depression then, of course, and I was on pills. And I realised that I actually needed more help. And I was also at that time talking more almost daily to the Samaritans. So they were absolutely superb with me. They're very supportive. And then they suggested some other charities that I could talk to who were more, if you like, in tune with the problems that I was having. And I rang them and I explained how urgent it was, and they saw me within a day. And then I started having counselling once a week with them, and that made a great deal of difference. I think without the charity workers I wouldn't have survived, to be honest. They were so in tune with what was wrong with me, because basically many of them had suffered in the same way. And it's a very humbling experience, because you know you're doing a high-flying job one minute and you're on your knees the next. And here's all these really lovely people, you know, giving their time to help you get back on your feet again. Any time after 3 in the afternoon, I'm in so much pain that I often can't function. I did have an episode of just overnight not having drugs, and when I was hospitalised for a suicide attempt, they wouldn't give me anything, obviously, because obviously I'd used the drugs to try and commit suicide. And unfortunately, then I was without any medication at all, and I was absolute torture. It was dreadful. The hardest thing I've found is to accept my physical limitations. And I have to thank the pain clinic in Canterbury for helping me with that. I went on a pain course, and the pain course helped me accept my situation. Unfortunately, it didn't help my husband accept it, and he wanted to end the marriage because I was disabled, and he couldn't cope with me being disabled. So now I live on my own. I've got my own house and a little dog, and I'm sort of building a life up here for myself. I don't think that there's anything more behind you than a big drink of orange juice and a chocolate biscuit, you know. I think that's it. You know, they don't realise that, you know, you've sort of done all of the things you've done and you've seen the world, basically.
Anne was born in Birmingham. I was born in Kent. But occasionally we would go on holiday. My mum was very, very fond of her brother because we're cousins. They would come down to us or we would go up to them. And then he joined the Navy, and one weekend he was at home, so I happened to be home as well. And of course, when I saw him in his sailor's uniform, that was that.
Oh, it's just uniform then.
But when we were little though, we were in the hammock in his garden, and he said to me, "When you grow up, wait for me and we'll get married." In December next year, 2014, we celebrate 60 years wedding anniversary. So my mum and dad got their telegram from the Queen, so I'd like one as well. High five, lady. High five. Everything's going to pot. I mean, I've said many times, we're into the 3rd millennium now, and we're no better than we were 2,000 years ago, really, are we? We still think that fighting is the answer to problems. These things closer to home, like these stupid schoolgirls who get themselves pregnant, even though they have all this sex education at school. I just get so angry, because children should have a mum and a dad, and they should grow up in a stable environment. The trouble is that I end up getting a bit emotional, really, because I do get so angry. I really do.
You've got great big hairy feet, look.
It was hilarious when Skype first started, because all I used to hear was, "I can see you but I can't hear you. I can hear you but I can't see you." And I used to be thinking, "Oh, you're beautiful, aren't you? Are you gorgeous?" Well, I've got the most marvellous book. Peter and Wendy went to Costco the other day, and he rang me up. He said, "Guess what I'm looking at?" And I said, "What?" He said, "I've got this book, £27. Well, £27.99. It's that big, that thick, weighs a ton. But it's absolutely marvellous,
book,
isn't it?
Yeah.
All about Harry Potter, from the books to the screen. Wonderful.
And we make use of the mobile library, but we're lucky with Touchwood. We've still got a mobile library, so I'm glad of that.
Because with our memories nowadays, you know, we might get a book out that we've already read. So she said to me, oh, you can put your signature in the book, which I've done, because I've read so many of them. And I thought, well, I don't want to go reading them again, so I just put my signature. And there's quite a few people who have done it.
But you say that, but how many times have you read Harry Potter books?
Oh, I don't mind Harry Potter. I read Harry Potter every year. I mean, Harry Potter is one of those things, isn't it? I mean, every year I read all the books and that's it. I just love Harry Potter. Well, I'm in my second childhood.
Why tell them all the old things that ended long, long, long ago? I'm a local lad, and I went in the army when I was 17. That's when I got it in Belgium. So I've been detour around. They sent me to Egypt, Asmara. I've been Khartoum in the Sudan with the Warwicks, and I've been moved around. But my last one before I came home was Jerusalem in Palestine, with the 2nd Battalion, what's that regiment? I can never remember my regiment. I'd been in Belgium a couple of weeks, and I got under a wagon because of bombing that. And Sergeant says, get from under there and get out, you'll get killed under there. Well, within the matter of a fortnight, they pulled us all out of Belgium. But I got it there, that was it. But right from there, right the way up. And I played football, and no problem, until this last 2 years. And it's not that one, this is the one what's causing the trouble. We're talking about 47, 48 then, to Palestine. And we used to have a bridge which led from one side to the other. Mount Scopus we was at, and that bridge got blown up nearly every night. And we couldn't find out who was doing it, but it went up. But it was a treacherous place, Palestine was. It was deadly on nights. I never went to sleep on guard, 12-hour shift, never went to sleep. Whoever was on with me called a sergeant tens, I said, get your head down, I'm not going to sleep. I was frightened to go to sleep. Now I to tell it to the trees will tell the birds and bees, and every other one, because I told them so. 2 of our lads tried to swim across the Nile, and it's a wonder the crocs didn't get them. But when you see them, these crocs, the backs are as wide as this room. They're great big massive things, but you must hit them above the eyes. The body, the bullets would bounce off them. I get out of the way then, they're too big for me. It's no secret anymore. Why tell them all the old things? When I came out of hospital the other week, they got a football downstairs there. I took a run and a kick at that. Oh, is it all right? I thought, oh, I'm all right. I want to run, I want to play again. I've got a grandson, he's on the books. He's only 11, and I said, let's have him down at my place. So his granddad will train him. He's only a young kid. But he's good, he's faster than me, or was. I want to get him trained up. I've got a boxing punch bag in my conservatory. He came around the other week, this is the one who's 15 now, and my granddaughter's 17. He came around the other week, he says, I bet you can't hit that punch bag, can you, Grandad? So I went right back there, hit it, and he knocked it off the roof. He split it off the what's name. He says, that's my box, he says, that's mine, Grandad. I'll have to buy a new one then. That ended long, long, long ago. Whispering grass, the trees don't want to know.
I asked my mother, and she said my grandmother named me. So that's as much as I know. There's nobody, as far as I can guess, foreigners in the family tree, but it's Czechoslovak. It was a cold call, you might say, how they do these cold calls. And instead of asking me whether I wanted to buy these products or anything, we just sat chatting, and I said to her, I says, won't your manager or somebody tell you off just for sitting chatting? She says, oh no, she says, she's used to me sitting chatting. She says, would you like to phone my father? I says, oh dear. I says, oh, go on then for a joke, I don't mind. And after a few weeks, I had a phone call, and this man on the other end said, is that Jana? I says, oh, don't worry. I says, I know who you are. He says, who am I? I says, you're Lewis. He says, how did you know? I says, I just guessed. We've been friends ever since, and that was coming up 4 years ago. I go down there and he comes up here, and, just for some days break and everything. We phone each other, and Christmas cards, birthday cards. We do all that sort of thing. And he looks after me when he's here, or when I go down there. He looks after me as well. Yeah, he's very good. Oh, we've become very good friends, but that's as far as it's going, as far as I'm concerned. I don't want nobody to share my bed. I'm used to having everything on my own. But friendship, yes.
By living next door.
I met her when I moved in here, and it's gone on from there. This place of mine wasn't built when I found the place. So when they were putting the plinth down, the concrete plinth, she appeared one day when I came to see how progress was going, and she just stood there and she said, I don't neighbour, you know.
No, we've never done that.
No, we haven't, but we
they do next door. I'm trying to put them off at the moment.
But we don't.
We're real
we respect each other's privacy, but when we feel like it, we get in touch, quite often by telephone. It's a different type
in
of
your
friendship.
Head,
yes.
you're no older than you were when you were 17.
That's
really.
true. That's true. You don't.
I mean, just because we look old, we're not really. The way you feel at 17, I suppose you don't feel like that again. I saw somebody, and that was it. For the next 2 years, he was constantly at the house. I can't remember how I felt, except that it was special.
How did he die?
When he came out of the army, he worked on a building site and he fell 10 feet, broke his back and died. As you get older, and I had a bad marriage, there's no doubt about that. And I was glad when he went. I would say my life started at 40, but those 17-year-old feelings had gone then. I don't trust anybody anymore. I still don't want anybody sharing my life now, but I would have shared my life with him. Whether that would have lasted, I wouldn't have to say.
You'll never know.
No. I lost weight to begin with because instead of only paying half the bills, I had to suddenly find all of the money. He'd already thrown the eldest boy out, so it was just me and the youngest son. But after the first year, I had no money at all. I got a job, and I got £12 to my name and an electricity bill. And I called in a travel agent and put £12 down as a deposit on a holiday to Spain.
Good for you.
And they cut the electricity off.
You've got to get your priorities right.
Of course you have.
Very, very happy, 5 children. And then he went and had a heart attack. I've been on my own ever since. Well, not on my own, but husbandless. Mixed feelings, really, because you've got total freedom to do what you want, when you want, how you want. I mean, if I don't want to, and you're the same, if I don't want to bother about getting showered and whatever before lunchtime, I don't.
I'm the same.
Unless I'm going somewhere.
And there are always the times when somebody rings that door. The doorbell works now.
Oh, right.
I've got batteries for it. Somebody's at the door. If you decide to have the day in bed because you're not feeling 100%, somebody comes to the door, but usually nobody ever does.
But yes, the thing is with being on your own, it has its drawbacks as well. There are times when you're watching a television programme, for instance, and you say, oh, fancy, you know, that kind of thing. There's no comeback with what's going on around you or places that you go to. You're inclined not to go places because there's nobody to say, oh, I'm glad we came here, and you'll talk about it another time. That's the kind of thing that goes when your husband isn't there. That's what I miss a lot. But I had a very, very dear friend who, emotionally, romantically, since my husband died, but I couldn't give up my freedom. But unfortunately he died too.
I was an only child and now I'm an only person, only old person as well. Things don't change. When I made a bad marriage, your parents tended to say you've made your bed and you lie in it. They weren't supportive at all, so that's just what you did. And you could go nowhere. The council wouldn't give you a council flat. Nobody wanted your kids, nobody wanted you, so you put up with it. Now it's not like that anymore. I mean, if either of, well, my son's had hundreds of girlfriends. I have to remember what the names are when they come here. I mean, he's 50 now, I think, but it's still happening.
You have to write it all down, Muriel.
Oh dear. But things have changed so much. It's too easy for people to get divorces now, I suppose. I never had any money from anywhere. Well, either when I was married or when we split up. I was never divorced. But I didn't have any money, and we lived in a council house. So there was no selling of houses.
No.
Everything I ever had, I worked for.
These people that just
People
stay getting handouts, never get anything further.
They get a council flat, the babies are taken care of. I think some girls at school get married for a council flat, have a pregnancy that they didn't really want anyway, handouts again, and that's how they live life.
Yes, but they never get out of that sort of...
No, but they don't really want to, they don't need to.
No.
They're probably better off than you and me.
They probably are.
I don't care. I'm glad I've done everything for
I am
myself.
too, you can hold your head up. Sometimes you don't look any further than the following morning, and if you wake up, oh,
it's
good,
a bonus,
another day.
Yeah. Damn, another day. They put up with another one.
Despite all your aches and pains and creaks, you're quite happy, aren't you?
I'm happy
And
enough.
I'm happy.
It's a struggle to do anything now. That's what it's very frustrating and very annoying that you can't do things that you could do.
I know, but look what's going to happen to me after Christmas. I'm going to have everybody doing things for me.
Oh, I'm going to have to get on to social services. I'm going to have to get somebody's going to have to come and vacuum. I can't. It takes me all day to vacuum. You used to do all these things without even thinking it. A full-time job. Weekends were cleaning, shopping, cleaning car, and you still had time to go to the pub. You can't do that anymore. My son comes on Saturday and takes me out shopping, and my granddaughter pushes me around in this wheelchair and she keeps saying things like, if you don't behave yourself, we'll take you back to the home. So I have to pretend to be not all there. Keeps her happy.
My mother's side of the family, my granddad and all my uncles were tradesmen, and I suppose I inherited some of the skills. One of the worst jobs I've ever had in my life was repairing the wooden gutters in the upcast shaft, with the air sort of blowing up at you and trying to work off top of the cage with water pouring down, hockery water, trying to repair a wooden gutter all the way around. You got soaked, you were working blind because and of course it was pre-health and safety days, no, all you got were an old leather strap round you and a chain, no abseiling gear. When the pit closed, I had numerous jobs till I finished up working for myself for the last 20 years. I worked from home. I had a workshop. I had a big long garden. So when people had come to see me about, say, repairing a table, by the time they got to my workshop, the mind was full of other things which they'd spotted on the way down. I got a lot of work like that. As an alternative, I started using cardboard and other recyclable things. I use pop bottles and caps off bottles, corks, anything I pick up. I always look at something and say, what can I make out of this? Somebody bought me a book called The Traditional Gypsy Caravan, and I read the book and decided to make it. And I made it purposely because it was made at Burton, Horton and Spooners. My wife were involved in the inside, and when I look at it I can remember it. I've had it in some exhibitions, and this bloke says, I've seen a lot of caravans, he says, but that's the nicest Vardy I've ever seen. There's lots of people can make models, but they spoil it with the finish. You want to be doing something all the time. That's how I feel, you know. I mean, I can't sit down and... Although, I must admit, I've just had an iPad and I'm spending quite a bit of time with that. Although I lost my wife 2 years ago, I still feel lucky that I've got the use of my hands and my brain, and I do my own cooking, shopping. Lots of people at my age ain't as lucky as I am.
Working life started originally on the railway as a loco man, then went trolley bus driving, then bus driving, then tour driving, lorry driving, anything to do with transport I've done all my life. I had an accident and had to have a pin in my leg, couldn't work anymore, I couldn't climb on lorries. So then I started doing the CBS social car, that's taking people to hospital, doctor's appointments, and just generally anybody that can't travel on public transport, we take them. I find it very rewarding doing it, you meet a lot of people. Well, I did retire for a fortnight. They persuaded me to go back again. I'd be lost without it, I'll be honest.
You was lost without it.
I was lost, I sat here now. When you stop, when you get older, as soon as you stop, you can feel yourself going downhill. You can really feel it. I'm aware I will have to stop one day at the age I am.
I got a friend who was in a nursing home at Horton, near Clifton Clampville, and I couldn't get, so I got in touch with CVS and they put me on to Graham, and he used to take me once a week to see this person, you see, and that's how we met. It took me for 2 years, and then he rang me up one day and said, would you like to go out for the day? And we went up to Derbyshire, and that was the beginning of it.
We didn't take long to decide to get married.
No, that was in the March and we got married in the September. Oh, it was a beautiful day.
Oh, it was lovely.
The weather was beautiful, and I had all my granddaughters as bridesmaids, and it was a lovely day, wasn't it?
Yeah, the sort of wedding you didn't come to have years ago when you got married years ago. It was all done, make your own cakes and do it all yourself. We just had a big do, really, that was all. It was a great day. Anne's family's typical old, what I call Derbyshire family. They all keep close. Whereas I'm not from Derbyshire, I'm not even born and bred, which is a different area altogether. And my family come 3 or 4 times a year when they think they will, birthdays and things like that. They only live down the road, but I never see them. But that's how a lot of people are nowadays. It's a pity, but...
I feel young, really, especially when I'm with my granddaughters, yeah. You know, I feel more or less on the same wavelength as they are when, you know, talking about boyfriends and everything, yeah.
I just feel as if I seem to stick around about 35 and I can't get into my head that I've got beyond that. That's the thing. I'll try and do things that I used to do then. And that's the only thing that the difference is. You suddenly find out there's a lot of things you can't do that you used to do. I don't feel old. I think myself, I tend to always look forward, don't I? I'm always looking forward.
Yeah.
It's my nature to look forward. I do look back, obviously, because there's some things are worth remembering. If you're going to stay active, you've got to look forward.
Well, I should like to be still around when my granddaughter's married. So.
You wait nowadays.
Just want to be around when the big milestones in their lives, really.
You wait nowadays. You wait for them all because they're moving and live together. It's not like it used to be years. That's the big difference. Years ago, you sort of, well, they've got this fella, they're going to get married, but now they're gone and living together and things like that. It's a different world, totally different world. You have to get used to that.
Youngest of 7, because 7 months ago, my cousin phoned me and told me she'd found a book of births and marriages, and my 6 brothers and sisters had all been baptised, but not me. All my life, I've never, ever been treated by genuine people. They've let me down. And I just felt I'd got to be christened. Elated, excited and happy. And when I walked into the church and saw all the people there, I was just full. I felt really wanted. I was crying with happiness. Everyone in the congregation came and gave me hugs, and I felt that I was actually with a full family. They were my family. All I can remember is I was 14 months old. Next thing is the RSPCC came, because we were left apparently on the doorstep. My mother had gone. Where my dad was, I don't know. My sisters and them all got split. They put me into the Burton Workhouse nursery, and I stayed there till I was 6. Some days good, sometimes bad. But I think what we children wanted more than anything was love. But I was always in trouble, because when it came to Christmas, we always had a big Christmas tree, and they had them pink and white mice. And I crawled under and started eating them. And then when I was 6, they took us to Derby homes. In my mind, I always wanted to know why she left us, what had we done, and everything like that. And it used to churn me up. And I got then that I never believed any adults. And we used to go to church. I used to be in charge of the little ones. We'd get there, all the women never spoke. Oh, they're here again. One Sunday, one of the priests come up, stood, hellfire, come straight to the kids. You are the spawn of the devil. You should not be here. And all I got was a little voice saying, Jeannie, I've wet my knickers. Can we go home? I had to take the kiddies out. Before I come out, I got hold of the bell, the rope, and gave it one good pull. We were never allowed toys. We never allowed a teddy bear. And if I went to love the children, put my arms round them, we got pulled away. 2 days after that, we were on a train going to the nuns at Worcester. And the day I got there and that door was shut, my life, that was it. Here you are, here's your uniform, put that on, go and get a bath. And May Archer came with me from number 44. She was crying. I put my arms round her. I says, we'll be all right. But we weren't. All we children ever wanted was some kind words, a bit of love and understanding. But now I've got it tenfold. I feel really now wanted and believed. I'm the happiest person in the world now. I'm with Friends of the Blind, I'm with the Stroke Club, I'm with the CBS Luncheon, and I'm with the church. So, and my bingo. I won't miss my bingo.
I left school when I was 14 and I was quite a dunce at school really. I was always good at art and crafts, but everything else, oh dear. I don't know how, but I ended up in the drawing office. Going out doing surveys and God knows what, it's all right. Purely I like the drawing aspect of it. I was sitting in the office one day and I thought, well, I can't sit here till I'm 65 just for a pension. I was sick of it. So I just wrote my notice out. That was it. Nowhere to go to, but I just want to get out, you know. And I went to the Burton Art School for a year. And it's like a duck to water. Oh, it's lovely. I went wild. The things that flowed out of my head is unbelievable. The thing had been stored up for years and years and years. This was made from old cigar boxes. It's basically a music box, come jewellery box really. You press the front doorbell. That's the way it goes. It's a bit of a nuisance when you can't get your balance properly. I think it was a happier life years ago. Everybody now is rushing here, there and everywhere just for money. Money spoils everything. Eggs. I've been working on these eggs for years. Oh. I just dropped this case one day. You make a mould, you cast the bottom and the floor into it. When you've done all the modelling inside, then you cast the top, glue them together, and then you spend days, cutting all the holes. It's all done by eye, but if it's not perfect, it sticks out like a sore thumb. But of course, when everything's done, put in the kiln, hope for the best. Beryl Reid, I made an egg for her with her house inside it. And when you saw her on the television, exactly the same at home. Oh God, the house was full of cats. She got 2 huge refrigerators, one for her, one for the cats. Unfortunately, she's died now. That's one I did. It's a boat at sea. No particular boat, it's just at sea. There's only us two because I haven't got any brothers or sisters. So, yeah. And you can't share any memories. That's the thing. When your parents go, you can't sort of tell them, oh, do you remember so-and-so? That's all gone. If you've got a brother or sister, at least you remember some things, but when you haven't, the whole lot of your history's gone, you know.
don't think it is a role, I think it is my life. I mean, music has been something that I've always done in some form or another. I started playing the piano when I was 8. My father was a lay preacher, so I used to go round playing the organ or singing or whatever, you know, with him. I've sung in choirs for all my life, I think, church choirs or, you know, other choirs as well. So music's been a thing that I've lived with all my life, I think. I don't like performing. I'm not a performer, really. I just like doing it. I play the organ, but I don't mind that because they're not listening to me. They're just, you know, doing other things. Play it for special services up here and weddings and funerals and things. Weddings I enjoy because they're fun, usually. Depends what they're having in the way of music. If they have the bridal march, I revolt. But apart from that, it's good fun, and it's nice to see, you know, all the flowers and the clothes and everything else, and it's fun to watch the couple as well because they're usually terribly nervous. More nervous than I am, I think, so that's all right. Funerals, I find, if I don't know the person, I can cope with it okay. If I know the person, it's quite difficult. If they know me, they ask for me, so I sort of feel, yeah, I've got to do this. But it is quite hard sometimes when you know somebody. Most of the time, actually, because it's a village and they're a close-knit community, people know one another, so there's usually quite a lot of people from the village there. But I have been to funerals where there's only been 3 or 4 people, and they're quite heartrending, really, because you sort of feel that nobody cares. I think music is a part of life, and that's part of life, isn't it? I mean, christenings and weddings and funerals are about the only time you ever see anybody in church anyway. But it is part of life, isn't it? So I think music is an important part of it. If I'm singing, it makes me feel wonderful. There's nothing like singing in a choir. At the end of the evening, when you finish singing in a choir, you're so uplifted. It's amazing. So that is, you know, it doesn't matter what the singing is, whether it's a requiem or anything, you just feel better for having sung. It's supposed to be good for your health as well. Well, the obvious thing one looks forward to at this age is death. Because there's, you know it's going to come. You can't avoid it. And if you're sensible, you accept it. And just, you know, think, well, it's going to be here sometime. We just get on with life and enjoy what's left of it. I look forward to tomorrow. And that's as far as I go, really. I just look forward to what I'm going to do. I plan. I mean, I've already planned to have all my family for Christmas, so that's going to be fun. But, you know, I mean, you can't plan for 20 years ahead, can you? Well, I suppose you could, but it would be a bit unrealistic, I think. Let me think. Oh gosh, it's a long time since I made the list. Oh yes, I'm coming in. My coffin's coming in to Purcell's funeral music. There's a fantastic bit in that. He wrote funeral music for Queen Mary. And there's a fantastic bit at the beginning which is all drums. And it's boom, 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 boom. And I'm coming into that, and that'll make everybody sit up. I want it to be happy, I don't want it to be miserable. I don't think you're aware of time when you're younger. Time seems to just go on forever, doesn't it? I mean, summers when you were young lasted for years, didn't they? They go in 5 minutes now. I think that aspect of things is time seems to fly more as you get older, and it's gone before you know where you are. Whereas when you were younger, I don't know whether you concentrated on things more, I don't know. But certainly, you know, as you get older, you think, gosh, is a year gone already? We didn't think that when we were young, though, did we? It wasn't a thing that we did, I don't think. I think you always sort of felt time went on forever.
I don't realise that I'm 84. I mean, a month ago, I decided to decorate my kitchen. I got the paint out on the steps, but by the time I'd finished, up and down the steps, I just didn't know what to do with myself. And I thought, Gladys, do you realise how old you are? What have you been doing today, Mummy? I said, I've decorated the kitchen, Polly. Do you realise? She says, how old you are, Mum? She says, couldn't you have left that until I came? I could have done that for you. I said, I'm sorry, Polly, it's done.
Well, I'm 70, but I feel about 50. Yes. I feel a lot younger than I used to be, I think. Met through lunch club, didn't we?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
I started lunch club. I did go with an old lady. She wanted to join, and so I went with her. And then I went one day, and there was only one lady helping. And she says to me, do you want to help? So I started helping. Then I got onto the reception at the CVS, and that's how I met Gladys. Because Gladys was just ordinary member, wasn't you?
Yeah. I had joined, as a member.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Kay. Well, I mean, there's some of them not as old as me that go.
And they're not as old as me, neither.
Well, there is, yeah. And I think, it's a great feeling. Especially when we both dress up at Christmas, Yeah. And we have the time of our lives, don't we?
But they appreciate it as well, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we don't go ready dressed. We see to all the dinners first, see that they've got the meal in front of them and all the rest of it, and then we go in the toilets and change.
We've been fairies, gnomes. I was Mrs. Christmas.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah. And a cracker. I was a cracker one year.
Wasn't very good then, was it?
How it started,
It was for that foundation.
they did Make a Difference Day. And I think they do one every year. But that year, what ours was, we collected clothes and anything. And then we went in the town hall and we was going to distribute it to all the charity shops. But when they started going through the clothes, some of these at work who were a bit more know the label said, oh, this is a so-and-so label and this is a so-and-so label. So they saved them, and that's where we got the clothes from, you see.
But when they wrote me into it from the CVS, you'll come, won't you, Gladys? I said, no. I was really taken back, I thought, I can't do that. Well, it was hilarious to do the catwalk. I got to the end, I was supposed to turn left and I turned right, and I did everything wrong. But they clapped. I mean, I got tickets for Polly, her husband, my grandson, his girlfriend, my other daughter. Yes. So I said to James, now when your nan walks down, just look at me and go, oh, you should have seen his face.
Yes.
Oh, bright red.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have done that, Nan.
Yes, it was really good fun.
It was good.
Because when they first asked me, I said no.
It was really good. Yeah. I've been on my own 11 and a half years and I still don't like it. I mean, if I didn't do this, I don't know what I would do. I just don't know what I would do. I mean, Polly used to say before she moved to Yorkshire, she used to go to Branston, to the club, gym, swimming and such like. And she used to tell her friends there, she said, I have to make an appointment just to see my mummy. Because I just don't like being on my own. I'll go and visit anybody.
I just don't feel I'm lonely. I'm just content. But I must admit, I don't know what I'd do if I hadn't got the CVS, because I'm not one of these that can just work in the house all the time. I just like to be doing things. But I don't think I'm lonely at all.
The biggest majority of the women, they were already married and their husbands were in the 40s. And I can always remember when I very first started, they gave me this job, as I got the stack of plates like that, and you used to have to stamp or lift it. I mean, none of them were glazed, so you can imagine what your fingers used to be like. It was really hard work, and you got to get through so many. So sometimes they've got a big chute. If you got any broken, you used to have to go and throw them down this chute, and it was like a big, a skip at the bottom of this chute. And many times I've took good plates to get rid of them. And I saw this person in RAF uniform, and of course he came over, and I thought, You're a bit pushy. Pink carnation stuck in his lapel, so he just gave it me. So he walked me home that night, and I thought, isn't he brassy? He just wouldn't leave me alone. I fell madly in love with him. And he's the only fella I had.
I just live each day as it is.
Well, you do, don't you?
Yeah.
I look forward to having my great-granddaughter every day. She's my life. She's 3 years old, and I love her to bits.